Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today, on the Game and Gig podcast, we're taking a trip back to Midgard for all the gods, trolls, and broken pottery your heart desires as we discuss God of War Ragnarök.
Okay, so first things first, Daniel. I will say that this discussion is going to be spoiler-free.
From Randy.
It will be spoiler-free. And if we
From
accidentally say anything that's spoilery, I will go back and edit it out.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
To ensure that if you're watching this and you haven't finished Ragnarok, which we haven't either.
No.
So don't spoil anything for us. But we're kind of give our, impressions of it so far. We're both a fair ways into the game, but we're going to keep it spoiler free, but we are going to talk about the game. And if you're on the fence, maybe we can convince you or maybe dissuade you. Who knows? We'll see.
And I'm just going to tell you straight up right now, buy it.
Buy it.
You don't have to watch the rest of the podcast. Just turn it off. Go buy it.
But yeah.
Hashtag, who cares about retention rate?
No, we care about retention rate. Stay with us.
Please stay.
Please.
Please clap.
Just begging for people to stay work.
Yeah.
I think it does.
It would work on me.
So, okay, so Ragnarok is out, and I guess the first thing we can kind of talk about is how similar or different is it than the first God of War 2018? Well, I shouldn't say it's the first God of War, but the most recent God of War.
Yeah, the reboot.
The reboot, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's clearly built on the same bones. Mm-hmm. There's some reused things that jump out at you, but not in a bad way because the first game was great. But it's very similar, but they've added to it and in a great way, I think. I haven't found anything that they've tweaked or added that I didn't think was better.
Yeah, it's definitely an example of, a timely sequel. Because, think about it. It's only been 4 years, and it's, in order to do something as large of a scale and as Ragnarok is, it's going to have to work off the bones of its predecessor, or it's just not going to be done in 4 years.
And thankfully, it had great bones.
Right. But it is very similar. I mean, combat is largely exactly like it was in the first game, for the most part.
It is. I mean, man, this is where the part where we have to be careful about spoilers.
Oh, yeah. But, we won't give away anything. We can say that there's some things.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that you have in this game, from early on that maybe you didn't in the first game. And, that opens up some possibilities combat-wise in the beginning that maybe you wouldn't have had in the previous game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's largely the same, and it's still great.
Right.
So good.
If you really liked the combat in the first game, you're going to love the combat in Ragnarok. And now that I've kind of been playing through it, it reminds me of how these games, God of War and God of War Ragnarok, they have, I think, it may be the best combat out of any video game that I can think of currently.
Yeah, I mean, like in a big single player kind of experience like this.
I mean, I'm not talking like Smash or something, that has arguably, it's very different. But in terms of like single player.
It might.
Yeah.
I can't think of any game that I think has better combat.
Yeah, it's the only game that I think of that gives me a similar feel is something like Doom, in terms of like makes you feel super powerful and you do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, Doom makes you feel totally BA the whole time.
Right.
And so does this game.
Right. So it's kind of a similar vibe. But I think that I prefer the combat in the God of War and Ragnarok.
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah. But
I mean, Doom is cool, but God of War is forever.
Yeah. So the combat is phenomenal. That is probably my favorite thing about it. And luckily, that's the bulk of the gameplay. Would you say it's hack and slash? Like, how would you describe the combat?
I mean, to a certain extent, but just like any good hack and slash game, it's got combos and skills that you get to work in, and to the point where it's really not just mashing buttons.
No.
There's strategy to it, and it gets into this like beautiful flow that I love. When it's really clicking for me, it is just, and it all looks so cool. Like it just all makes you feel so cool.
Yeah. And I think before we started the podcast, you were playing, and what I noticed is that your combat style is very different than the way I approach combat in the game. And I don't think either, is a good or bad. That's a good or bad thing. But I think what it shows is that the game isn't just like a one thing you can do. The combat is complex enough to where you can really kind of develop your own style, and it'll work. It doesn't the game doesn't pigeonhole you.
What do you do differently than me?
Primarily, I think that you seem to use the weapons way more than I do. Like you're constantly swapping between Leviathan Axe and and the Blades of Chaos.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
I don't think it is either. You're constantly swapping between weapons, and you're kind of chaining them together. Whereas I do a lot of I usually get rid of the weapons, and use more of the hand, like the punches, and I do a lot of the shield blocks. I do a lot of those sorts of things, and I try to build up the stun meter, and then once I do that, I kind of use those finishers that come up once you build up the stun meter.
The stun grabs.
Yeah, and you didn't seem to do hardly any of that.
Yeah, now I did actually start doing more of that today when I was playing, because of you telling me that you use the hands a lot and that it builds up stun so much faster. I did it a lot this morning. But the stuff that you saw me doing was like a mini boss fight. Yeah. And I wasn't doing it then. Maybe I should. But
it works great. In fact, I think it works best on mini bosses because once you build up that stun, that takes a big chunk of their health out. And, and then you don't feel like you're having to a lot of in this game. I noticed a lot of it is just barely chipping away at people, especially the mini bosses and bosses. You're just kind of barely chipping away a little bit at a time. Yeah. And some of the bosses can feel like, you got to be really patient and work your way through them. But that kind of makes it, for us that are less patient, it makes it a little easier to get through them.
I don't want to play this game very patiently, though. Like I was telling you, I want to be more aggressive. I played the first game pretty patiently. Right. And it's more fun to just go balls to the wall. And
I agree. I think it is. Just for so you guys know where we're at. I'm a good bit. I shouldn't say a good bit, but I'm a decent bit ahead of you in the game.
You said you're about 11 hours in?
Yeah, I'm 11 hours in.
So according to the stats we've seen, you're about halfway through the game. Yeah. Maybe a little more. Right. And I'm 8 hours in. So yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me.
And I know where you're at. And I have run across some bosses and mini bosses that I feel like have forced me to be more patient. That force you to be a little more defensive. And if you try to get up in their face, you're just not going to survive. Yeah. And I feel like in the first game, there was a lot more of that.
There was. Yeah. There was a lot of that. Yeah.
But that being said, it seems like if you're willing to be patient and just wait, it really makes things a lot easier.
And you have some, really good ranged options too with the axe. I've upgraded the both of the charged throws, and they're great. I use them quite a bit.
So the combat is awesome. But another big part of the game is that it has a lot of puzzles.
It does.
And I think that was one of the big complaints I heard people say about the first game, is that they felt like the puzzles slowed down the action, and that if anyone had complaints about the first game, it was that they didn't like that it was so puzzle focused.
I mean, I see that. I guess if you were into the old God of Wars, and I didn't play those, so I may be kind of speaking out of turn here, but I feel like they're probably not very puzzly. They seemed extremely hack and slash. Maybe they did have puzzles. I don't know. But, maybe if you're coming in with that sort of expectation, I can see maybe why you would feel that way. But I don't think the puzzles are overly complex. They don't take very long. No. I don't know. I think they're good.
One of the things that I think Ragnarok has improved upon is that I feel like there are less mandatory puzzles than the first game. And now the puzzles are largely side things that you can skip if you want.
I was about to say that. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of those chests you can skip if you
there
don't
are
want
a lot
to.
of there's still the occasional mandatory puzzle you have to do this to progress to get through a section, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, and to me they're rewarding. Once it clicks, which it takes 2 minutes for it to click for me. It doesn't take very long, and then it feels good, and then there we go. I'm fighting more elves.
Right. So I mean, the puzzles I think are similar quality. I don't think that they're any better or worse than the first game. I feel like they're similar, but the thing I do like is that there's less mandatory ones. But I've been doing most of the side ones too, because I like collecting the loot and I like upgrading stuff. And if you want to do that, you can, you're going to have to do those puzzles.
Yeah, I think all the armor sets that I've seen so far look really cool. So I want to complete them, and I'm having fun going off the beaten path. In fact, you walked in on me doing that today.
Yeah, I did. You were doing a little side section that I didn't do because I skipped it. But one of the things I wanted to bring up here that I didn't write in our outline is that I really, really love the way that the game kind of drip feeds the kind of RPG elements of the game. I think that that is something that it does very, very well. And that a lot of games do very poorly because personally, I get very overwhelmed when I go into a game that is just menus upon menus, has tons of upgrades, and it has so many different skill trees and all kinds of stuff like that. And this game certainly has a lot of that.
It does.
But it does a really good job of introducing you to one little bit at a time, gradually going through. I'm 11 hours in, and I'm still unlocking new sections that you can upgrade. They don't give it all at the beginning. They barely feed it to you just a little bit at a time.
And you also are constantly getting little pieces to make something better. You know, it's never anything like huge all at once, but it's constantly like a little hit of dopamine, a little hit of dopamine. Like it's good. It's very good. I had that same thought this morning.
Yeah. And another thing I think, I am choosing to interact with that stuff and upgrade things and all that stuff. But I also think that if you're turned off by the more like skill tree RPG things where you're having to upgrade stuff and then, get materials and all that kind of stuff, if you're turned off by that stuff, I do think that if you just completely ignored it, I don't think it really would be that big of a deal.
I don't either. Which segues into our next, category, which is the difficulty. I don't think the difficulty is overly difficult.
No. And now
we're playing on medium.
Yeah, there are like 5 difficulty levels that you get at the very beginning, and it starts you out on the very medium one, which is like called Give Me Balance.
Yeah, Give Me Balance.
And we're both playing on that, and I have found that I think that it really is. It's the perfect balance. I'm very averse to very difficult games, and I don't like a game that is way too hard that I feel like is frustrating. I will absolutely turn down the difficulty if I think that a game is too difficult. This in no way is too difficult at all. In fact, I think that I could even bump it up a difficulty level and still feel okay about it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Me and Frankie tried to do a new game plus of the 2018 God of War, and I don't know what difficulty we played it on. Probably
the God of War setting.
Probably the God of War setting,
which is like the top one that you're given to initially.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like the medium one that it starts you out on, I feel like is really great. I feel like it's hard enough to where I definitely die, but it's not so hard that I die over and over and over and over and just feel like I can't get past somebody.
Yep.
I have definitely run across bosses where I probably have died, I'm going to guess like a maximum of 5 or 6 times on one boss. But I feel
in God of War? In Ragnarok?
In Ragnarok, yeah. Oh. Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's a lot of dying. But it was never, I was always feeling like, okay, I can get it if I just do this one more time, like.
I'm trying to think. I probably died 4 times against this one boss. Yeah.
Specifically, the boss that gave me so much trouble was the one that I was telling you about earlier, and I don't think you actually did that one. It was an optional side boss that was really tough for me. I don't know. I think it was just, I don't know. It was also fairly early in the game. But, yeah, I think the difficulty's perfect. I think they really balanced it quite nice.
Agreed.
And the fact that they have difficulty options. If you want to, if it's too hard for you, bump it down. Or if it's too easy, bump it up, And you can do that at any point in the game, I think.
I think, yeah, you can. But I think there is a limit on the Give Me God of War difficulty. I think you can start on it, and I think you can bump it down, but you can't put it back on that once you take it away.
Oh.
It said something
probably
like that.
something like, because that's probably achievement related, and they probably give you a certain achievement if you do it on that. And they
probably.
Yeah. So if you bump it down, you can't bump it back up at the very end to get that achievement.
I think that's what it said.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what about the, obviously the story we really can't talk about much without giving spoilers, but what's your thoughts on the story in as vague, but still...
The story is my favorite part. And that is really saying something after we just gushed about the gameplay. Because it's also amazing. But I think Norse mythology is freaking awesome. And the first God of War game is what got me into Norse mythology. That's how good it is. And so I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and done some reading since then. And the way they work Kratos and Atreus into this like pantheon and this vast mythology of all these gods and characters is so good. And it makes, and like, I'm constantly thinking like, oh my God, like once they get to the end, they're going to have to do this because this is what actually happens in mythology. But then like Kratos is here and Atreus is here. And like, how are they going to, like I'm constantly thinking about theories and I just think it's so freaking fantastic. Mm-hmm. I really, really love it. And I know how epic Ragnarok is in Norse mythology. So I cannot wait to get to the end of this game, but I don't want to rush there.
Right. Yeah, I think that the story is also, I agree with you. I think that it's, kind of very outlandish and epic, but that's the way it should be. Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah. The story is good so far.
Right? Yeah, they're going to have to really screw it up for me to not just be over the moon with this.
Mm-hmm. So far, I'm really, really happy with the story. And I think that overall, I'm just really happy with the level of polish that's been put in this game. It really shows that, like, when we have other games that are coming out, that come out and they're just not finished games.
Yeah.
This is a great example.
Cyberpunk.
Right. Well, I mean, like, there's tons of them, right?
Oh,
I mean, there's so many other examples.
I may not be
beyond
done coughing. I don't know.
But so many games come out and they really just don't have that like final level of polish. You can tell they rushed them out to hit a date. And I had a fear. Yeah. And I had a fear that Ragnarok would be that way because I felt like they were trying to get it out for holiday.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. This game has that level of polish. There's no jank to it.
No.
It's real, and it's probably largely because
it was built on some really good bones.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But that's okay. I don't care how they accomplished it. They did it.
Right. I mean,
they didn't have to put out some massive, like, bug patch day one to fix the game because you couldn't play it. Like, they didn't have to do that.
No. I mean, that brings us to like the one disappointment that I know you have because you told me about it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that is probably lends to why this is so polished is that it's really a PS4 game. It's not a PS5 game.
Yeah. Now, we're both playing it on PS5, and obviously it's running great. But yeah, what really disappointed me is the lack of adaptive trigger DualSense support.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that if it had been a PS5 exclusive, there would have been a lot more of that.
Had to be. Would have had to be.
Yeah.
And there is some of that. Like every now and then it kicks in and you're like, oh, that's weird. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to be there constantly. Like I wanted the axe to have it, mm-hmm. and it doesn't. And that did kind of hurt me. Right.
But I do think that overall you can tell it's a PS4 game, but not in a bad way.
No, it's like the best PS4 game ever.
Right. Well, I mean, like, and one could argue that the first God of War game was like the best game of the PS4 generation, and now we've just, we've got another.
Yeah.
That, we'll have to decide. We're not done yet. So we'll have to save the. Right. Is it better than the first one, or are they equal, or is like we just? Mm-hmm. I'm not ready to say yet.
I'm not either. I know where I'm leaning right now, but I'm 8 hours in.
Yeah. So, but that kind of brings us to, is God of War Ragnarok the best game that has come out, new game that's come out this year?
Well, we were talking about that last night, and I think we both think, for us right now, yes.
Yeah. Will it? I think that it'll certainly be a nominee for Game of the Year. And right now, as things stand, I don't want to give away my vote, but I think that I don't think what else I would vote for.
Yeah, don't give away your vote, Reed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not that anyone cares about how I vote for Game of the Year of the Game Awards, but I do love voting for the Game Awards. I always do it, and I think right now I'm definitely voting for Ragnarok, and I don't see how it's not going to be there.
Oh, it'll definitely be there, and I don't know. I think it'll be between that and Elden Ring. I really do.
Right.
And people loved Elden Ring.
People loved it. Elden Ring was not my cup of tea at all. So for me, it's like an easy. Like I'm definitely not. I know that I'm voting for Ragnarok, and I don't think that there's many other games that give it competition. I think that there's going to be Horizon Forbidden West. I think will certainly be there. But for me, that was, although it was a great game, it was it wasn't as good of a game as Ragnarok so far. Mm-hmm. And so yeah. What about you? You think it's going to be your game of the year?
It's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do? Throw out a new Super Smash Brothers?
No, definitely not.
They're not releasing a new Zelda.
You don't think
they already put out Last of Us.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's going to give any competition?
I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't.
What about what was the Pokemon game we got
Arceus?
Arceus, yeah.
Nope. I sure don't.
That was a joke, by the way, guys. I know, obviously, Pokemon game is
maybe one of them farming RPGs that Square's put out.
Harvestella.
There
you go.
I might vote for that. I might write it in.
It's going to have to be a write-in because that's certainly not going to be there.
Yeah.
So now you guys know our thoughts on this, but let's go into the poll. We did a poll on Ragnarok, kind of gauging people's interest in the game, and then we have a lot of comments on this. So
yeah, we do.
There's a lot to talk about here. So we asked, do you plan to play God of War Ragnarok? And 18% of people said at launch. I thought that number was low.
I did too.
But then we had a huge number, 49% of people said they're going to play it eventually. I say, you need to play this at launch, guys. Come on. Swap those around.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is only 33% of people said they're not interested, which I think that number is very low.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's good for Ragnarok.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should not be interested in this game because I think it's worthy of your attention. But yeah, you see that number higher a lot of the times. So
I've done the same poll, asking, do you plan to play whatever game? And almost always it's, above 50% of people say they're not interested. Asked about Harvestella, and it was like 90% of people said they weren't playing that. So yeah.
And our statistics are getting more and more viable here as our sample size grows. We got 1,000 votes on this poll.
Right. Yeah. So you're looking at a lot of people who are interested in this game and they want to play it at least eventually. But I kind of figured that at launch number would be higher.
Yeah, I did too.
Maybe it's just because it's a $70 game. Maybe that's what's turning people off.
Worth it.
It's an expensive game. They're expensive.
Well, I'm going to start us out on these comments here, Randy.
All right, go for it.
So old Joe Smo, not Joe Schmo, Joe Smo, says on PC.
Hey, I assume you're going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've announced if or when it's coming to PC. I'm sure it will.
Did we ever find out if 2018's on PC? Did you
look at it? 2018 God of War came to PC earlier this year, like January or something.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, like the beginning of this year. So, yeah, I think that if you don't have I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to wait just to play it on PC.
Well, if your only other alternative is to buy a PlayStation 5 and you don't want to spend the money,
well, you can play it on you can play it on PS4. So,
well, if you don't have one, it's one. I guess if you don't have a PlayStation, period.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you're not just dying to play it. I can see it, but I think if you have a PlayStation, play the game.
If you haven't, I think if you're going to have a PS4, from what I've heard, the PS4 version is fine. I haven't heard people. Maybe I've missed it, but I haven't heard people be like, "Oh, the PS4 version's awful." I haven't heard that. I'm sure it's low frame rate and stuff like that, but still, it's probably like 1080-30. Which, speaking of, didn't you say that the performance mode on PS5 was 4K 120? That seems insane to me. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right to me.
Man, you making me Google stuff mid-podcast?
It just doesn't seem right to me. But on PC, you can get whatever your PC will let you do. So,
I read something yesterday when I was looking it up.
Because I'm playing it in performance mode, trying to get the high frame rate.
Okay, high frame rate mode. So what is high frame rate mode?
Yeah. Now I have a 120 hertz television that can do 4K 120, but I didn't figure this game could do that.
This is a stupid article. So performance mode is 4K 60.
4K 60.
But what's the high frame rate mode?
Well, from what I understand, there was only two options that
No, there was an option that was grayed out for me because I'm playing it on my monitor here, which is not high frame rate.
I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can get to us and let us know.
Maybe I just found bad information yesterday.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. But anyway, on PC you can have all kinds of options and do whatever you want.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
We'll figure it out later. So next we had Gislian Fauda said pro Xbox voted for not interested.
Yes.
Yeah,
maybe
if you don't have if you're really pro Xbox, I don't see, you probably haven't played the first game and maybe you're very anti playing the second one.
Yeah, and maybe we should have a fourth option on these that says, like, you know, don't have a PlayStation.
Don't have a PlayStation, you know. And maybe someone would have picked that.
Yeah.
So.
Heather Cook, longtime commenter, says, never found these games fun. Heather? I don't know what to say.
Well, and I asked Heather in a comment on this shit. You didn't reply. But I asked, had you played the reboot? Because I think that the reboot is very different from the original games. So, honestly, the first, like, before the reboot, God of War never interested me. It just didn't look like a game that I would like. So, and I still really don't have any interest to go back and play the original games.
Yeah, I never played them.
Yeah, me neither. And they don't look like something I would like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would like them a lot. But they definitely didn't seem interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Agreed.
So let us know, Heather. Have you played the reboot? Have you tried the new and improved God of War?
Because it is improved.
Yeah. All right, here's with this next one, Daniel. We got...
Okay. We have Delusions of Grandeur. But he's got some interesting spelling in here. Says, I have no desire to own a PlayStation this gen, so waiting for the PC version. Fair enough. Don't buy one then.
No desire to own a PlayStation. I mean, like, this is tough.
Not my job to convince you.
This is gonna have to wait, because I think next week we're gonna be talking about comparing, you know, the Series X and PS5. So the talking about whether it's worth owning a PS5 is gonna have to wait. But I don't know. If you have no desire, I mean, heck, if you don't like any of the games that are coming out that are PlayStation exclusives, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Don't buy one. Leave it for somebody else, buddy.
Okay, I realized what you're doing earlier. I realized that I skipped. I should have read that comment, because we're going in order here.
It's okay. It all works out.
It all works out. Okay. So next we have Yawn.
Actually, it was going to work out. It's still going to work out.
I'll do the next two.
Okay.
We got Yawn here. Yawn says, not a must play immediately to me. Even though I own a PS5, I will either wait for it to go on sale or buy it on PC when it comes out there.
Yawn, I think you're doing this all wrong, buddy.
You're doing it wrong.
You already have the PS5.
And waiting for it to go on sale is not going to be a thing that happens, because it's not going to go on sale.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I think this is a fool's errand.
I mean, pretty much from what we've seen, PlayStation's been kind of adopting the attitude that Nintendo's had, and don't drop the price of their games.
Yeah, and this is the game of all games. This is the exclusive of all exclusives for them.
Yeah, right now it is. Right now it is. It's their biggest exclusive right now, so they're not going to drop the price. If you want to play it, I mean, if it's not a must play for you, okay, but I hope that maybe we've convinced you otherwise through this podcast. I say go try it. Next, we got Pyra Lover.
No love for Mithra?
No, only Pyra.
Okay.
No Mithra. Said, couldn't interest me less. And what hurt me the most is that this was the most upvoted comment we had, I think.
Couldn't interest me less.
Ooh.
Well, don't buy it then.
I just don't know why. Okay, and the thing is, here's the thing. I know that if it couldn't interest you less, you haven't played the first one, or I'm assuming you haven't played the first one. But I would say that's a pretty safe guess. I would say that you need to try it. It's worth trying. I'd go back and play the first one. You really should. We didn't discuss this earlier, but you really should play the first game before you play Ragnarok.
Yes, don't just jump into Ragnarok. Not that it's... I mean, there is a recap at the beginning of the game. I didn't watch it. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
I might watch it just to see what it's got.
It's very short and gives you very little. It's obviously meant for people who played the first game, just to refresh their memory.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you should totally play it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, I think it's worth your time.
Play them in order.
It's worth your time.
All right, are we ready for this next one?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so Tokyo G, 6 days ago, said, nah, I'd rather wait for the new Assassin's Creed. It's more versatile and not repetitive. And Randy, I'm going to tell you what, when I read this comment, my eyes started twitching. Because you know how I feel about Assassin's Creed. Like, I used to love it, and I feel like it hasn't changed since the first one came out. I mean, what year was that? What year was Assassin's Creed?
We were in high school.
1 release date. Assassin's Creed 1 released on November the 13th, 2007.
Yeah.
Now, I actually didn't go back to Assassin's Creed 1 today, But after I read this comment, I looked up a YouTube video of Assassin's Creed 2 gameplay because I remember that one being a really good one. And then I went and watched Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay just to confirm what I felt, which is when I played about my 10 or 15 hours of Valhalla, I felt like it had not changed. And I felt like it was almost the same animations, like it looked and felt the same, other than obvious graphical improvement, since it like Assassin's Creed 2. And I'm right. Like the way you like jump to crap, the way you walk around, like it's the same game. God of War has completely reinvented themselves. Mm-hmm. They've completely rebooted the franchise. And this is a dumb comment.
I'd say that I liked Valhalla. Did I think it was a perfect game? No.
And I don't want to crap on Valhalla because I mean it is neat. Yeah. And it's also Norse, and that's cool. But
yeah, I liked Valhalla, and I can't help but compare God of War with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think in a lot of ways it's a lot of the same themes, and there's a lot of similarities there. So I can't help but compare them. And I want to say I liked Valhalla, but you talk about repetitive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the repetitive game. It took me 100 hours to play that game. I'm telling you, it wasn't 100 hours of variety.
Yeah.
It just wasn't.
Yeah, I know. And I do want to reiterate that Tokyo G, you're not dumb. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying these words could have been chosen more carefully.
No. And that being said,
Randy's like, no, you are dumb.
No, I did not say that. Assassin's Creed, there are a lot of people who love Assassin's Creed. And I have not played. I played the first game, and I played Valhalla. That is all my experience with Assassin's Creed. And I can understand why people like the games a lot. I enjoyed Valhalla a lot.
I liked them historically.
Yeah.
I played 1, 2, 3, Unity, and Black Flag in about 15 hours of Valhalla. Mm-hmm. And I liked those games.
But I'd say that.
They haven't changed, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Assassin's Creed is one of those franchises that like people really either they love it. It's kind of like the Call of Duty of of single player games.
It is. That's a good comparison.
So anyways, now we got land installing.
Don't make my eye twitch, Landon.
I don't think Landon's going to. Believe it or not, I enjoyed God of War 2018, but I didn't see it as the masterpiece like everyone else did. A good game, but not a great one.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, hey, you enjoyed the game. Didn't think it was a masterpiece. I think that that God of War 2018 was a really, really great game. I don't think that any game, very few games, I would consider masterpiece level.
You don't think God of War hits that mark?
Masterpiece?
Yeah.
I would say that it was. Here's the thing. I have a really hard time when I'm thinking of rating games, putting a number on them. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can give a game a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And still think that it has some flaws. Because I don't think any game is flawless. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that God of War 2018 was flawless. But I didn't have a hard time calling any game a masterpiece game. But I suppose, it was a 10 out of 10 game for me.
I mean, there are those games that are undeniably masterpieces. Like Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. That's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Last of Us.
Right.
That's a masterpiece. I think God of War is too. I think 2018 God of War, and so far Ragnarok fits that for me.
Right. I've always tried to think of a word that described a 10 out of 10 game without using perfect or masterpiece. You know what I mean? Because I feel like those words
You're never going to hit perfect.
No.
I mean, Breath of the Wild's not perfect.
No, none of those games are perfect.
No.
But I think that they can be, monumental. Maybe that's the word for it. Was it a monumental game? Yes. Mm-hmm. I think so. But,
Man,
not everyone's going to
feel that. We may have to have another podcast about, what games are masterpieces.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We may disagree. Like Ocarina of Time. That's a masterpiece. And it has plenty of flaws. It was made for the N64.
Yeah, it definitely has lots of flaws. Then we got Ren. And Ren...
I'm a Mia.
I'm not even going to try to get that last name, but I got Ren. I can do that.
Ren Mamma Mia.
Ren said, Halo is greater than any PlayStation exclusive.
Well, I'm just saying, Ren, it's a shame you don't like Halo because it's a good game. I think they've been good for a long time, and I think you should give them a fair shake, honestly. The new game's fun. The first game's fun. The games in the middle are fun. Halo's great, man. I don't know why you're so down on it.
Look, Halo, like Call of Duty, has their diehards, and well, I guess it kind of lost that. What was it? The last Halo game before the current one?
I don't remember.
Seemed to lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only played the first 2 Halo games. That's all I've played, and I like Halo. I don't love Halo. I think that as a multiplayer game, it was one of the first games to really utilize online multiplayer in a way that really clicked with a lot of people. And I think for that reason, it's a legendary franchise.
It's monumentous.
It's monumental in ways, But
Monumental.
Better than any PlayStation exclusive. I'm sorry, but no. That is just wrong.
Well, I just really think you should give Halo a shot, Ren. So.
Yeah. Give it a go.
Yeah.
You might like it.
You might like it.
You
want to talk about games of the week?
Yeah, let's talk about games of the week.
What you been playing, bro?
So,
been playing Toy Story 3 for the Xbox 360?
No. I think that game's just meh. So,
talk about a masterpiece.
Yeah. So I finished Bayonetta 3. I did a 1-minute review on that. So if you want more of my thoughts on Bayonetta 3, make a long story short, I think it's a very good Bayonetta game. I think it does some stuff, like the combat is better than the first 2 games. It has this awesome summon mechanic that was really, really fun. Bayonetta 3 was awesome, but it had some things that kind of brought it down. So I think it kind of averaged out to be it just sits right there with the other Bayonetta games. Really, really good. I'd give them like an 8 out of 10.
I'm interested in Bayonetta as a series because I haven't played any of them. But I did watch some gameplay of Bayonetta 3, and one thing I noticed is that the camera seems really weird at times. Like at times there would be so much going on the screen, and your camera would like zoom out or come over here or something, and I couldn't even tell where Bayonetta was or what she was doing, and it was really weird to me. And that may just be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely there's a lot of that. Like, it's very easy to lose Bayonetta in all the crazy stuff that's going on. But those are only like temporary things. And as long as you have your combos and there are other things that you can use, like there's audio cues and all kinds of stuff. So like it seems worse from like watching Bayonetta to me, like watching the combat sections always seems way more chaotic than it actually feels when you're playing the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, to me personally. So I finished Bayonetta. I finished playing Escape Academy, which I also did a review on. Catherine and I played that in co-op, and I did a review on that one too. But I wanted to tell you something really interesting about this that made me think about it. So I played Escape Academy through Game Pass.
Right.
Which I told you last week that I got back just so we could play Escape Academy, and we played another game. Whatever game we played before Escape Academy. Oh, it was the Costume Quest game.
Yep.
So I got Game Pass for that, and it's, as you know, Game Pass for console is $9.99 a month.
Yep.
So it was this morning I go on because I'm going to cancel it because I just wanted the 1 month of it. We're not playing any games on Game Pass right now, so I was just going to cancel it. And I went on to do it, and it was like, okay, cancel Game Pass. And it said you have 2 options. We can either just not bill you, and you can continue to play throughout your month, because I had a few days left. Or it said, or you can cancel right now, and we'll refund you. And I did. And they refunded me the entire $9.99, even though I only had like 2 or 3 days left in the month, and I'd already played 2 games on it this month.
So you got 2 free games.
They just completely we got to play 2 games for free. They just completely refunded every dollar that I spent this month on it.
That's awesome.
No idea why.
That's really weird.
So
that seems
weird.
like a mistake.
It does seem like a mistake.
But that's cool.
But I checked and it already went through. They just refunded it.
Can't have their money back now.
Nope. It was just so strange.
Nice.
I also played some Sonic Frontiers, and I decided to abandon that.
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers was, you talk about a game that was not my cup of tea. I really had expectations that I would like it. I've watched a lot of reviews.
The reviews are mostly positive.
Yeah, and I've watched gameplay, and I thought, oh, it'd be okay. I got into it and just realized, like, it was not fun at all.
It's weird to me that the reviews are so positive. I mean, I haven't played it, but it never really looked that fun or good to me. And now that I'm seeing, like, actual finished gameplay, it still doesn't. It looks like this, like, really empty world that there are these, like, little Sonic assets sprinkled in, and you do them sometimes.
I only did the first, like, I guess, world.
Yeah.
And it definitely didn't feel empty, but one of the main criticisms I had with it is that the map system was awful. You do stuff, like many things, to unlock sections of the map, but there's you can't, in the map, you couldn't, like, select an area and then track it. You had to just, like, kind of orient yourself. But it had, the HUD was, it gave you, like, a thing, but you couldn't track anything except your main quest or, like, the main thing it wanted you to do. And oftentimes you need to go away from there to gather stuff to come back to it. But you could, it was just like, I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
That's annoying.
Yeah. Obviously, I've been playing God of War.
How do you like it?
And then Catherine and I started playing Rayman Origins, which is we're playing on the PlayStation 3, and it's a 2D platformer. Really, really great. I think I've talked about how much I love Rayman Legends, which is the game after Origins. So to go back and play Origins, it's maybe not quite as good as Legends, but it's still very good.
Yeah.
And still working on Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So
nice. And I'm interested in that one for sure.
Very good. It's very good. I'm just taking my time with it. I'm kind of playing it in little spurts.
Little spurts of hope.
I think that I'm on, like, either the last world or the second to last world of that. So I'm getting close.
Nice.
So besides God of War, what you been playing?
Well, I've been playing God of War, and, I like it. And then beyond that, it's pretty much just been a couple mobile games for me. So Rocket League Sideswipe, I'm still playing. It's freaking awesome. And I found this game because I wanted to play Vampire Survivors. But Vampire Survivors, even though it totally could be, is not a mobile game.
It's coming to Switch?
Yeah, it is. And that's great. So I Googled mobile games like Vampire Survivors, because Vampire Survivors was actually based on a mobile game, but that game was Android only, I think. And I found this game called 20 Minutes Till Dawn. And it's basically Vampire Survivors with just a couple differences, and it's great. So I played that a lot, actually.
Was it a paid game, or was it?
It was paid. It was like $3 or something, and I bought it. Worth it. It was good.
20 Minutes Till Dawn.
20 Minutes Till Dawn.
Is it like
It's,
Is it like horror themed? Like,
yes,
like Vampire Survivors was?
Yeah. It's like hordes of zombies and monsters and crap, and you have different characters that you unlock. You have different guns that you unlock. It actually is kind of like twin sticky, but not in the way that I hate, because I don't really like 2D twin stick shooters, but this is like top down, and it's not as chaotic. I mean, it is chaotic, but it's not as fast, I should say. And I really like it. There's also a quick play mode that only takes 10 minutes till dawn.
Ooh, 10 minutes.
Because Vampire Survivors does end, but it takes quite a while to get to the end. In this one, the goal is to survive 20 minutes.
Which is a long time for a mobile game.
Yes, it is. So I do the 10-minute mode.
So,
really good.
Yeah, I need to get back. I used to play mobile games all the time.
I think I might do a little short on some mobile games that I found.
You should. That'd be cool. I think a lot of people would like that. So now that we're at kind of at the end of the podcast here, want to give a shout out to our 3 for Dale Club, and today that is Landon Stallings again. Landon, thank you so much for keeping the 3 for Dale Club alive.
Landon, you're a freaking G.
But if you made it to the end of the podcast, let us know by putting 3 for Dale in the comments. That lets us know that you made it all the way to the end. You know our secret code, and we'll shout you out at the end of the next podcast.
Yes, and we have a very special and slightly somber announcement.
We do.
So as you guys know, or at least as Landon knows, because he's the only one here right now, we have been sponsored by Canaan Bridge of Spirits for PS5 for many moons now. How many times have we said get Canaan like never before? I mean,
right.
Honestly, it gets me a little misty just thinking about it. But they dropped us like a hot, steamy bag of taters.
Yep.
So we're open for new sponsors. If you are a game preferably some sort of quirky indie game, and you want to sponsor the Gaming Gig podcast, hit us up.
Yeah, because we're looking for a new sponsor since Kano decided that they no longer wanted to fund this endeavor. We don't know why they decided they didn't want to do that. They didn't exactly say. They said that Get Cana'd wasn't actually an official slogan of theirs, and it promoted, I don't know, something that they didn't like.
Right, and I said, not with that attitude, and they hung up the phone.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that.
They didn't like the way we promoted their brand.
No. They also didn't like the way we chunked the box with reckless abandon, but we're not going to stop that. So don't reach out if you don't want us to chunk your box.
Right. So, yeah. If you
Hashtag chunk your box.
We're not looking for a company here. We're looking for a game. You must be a game.
You have to be a game.
You have to be a game. We're not promoting anything but a game.
Yep.
But anyways, guys, until next time, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.